Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Borderfield Live, the most important sports show on the internet. I am your host, Byron Smith, and Donovan. Up there in the New England area, a lot of new players coming over. What is the feel up there in the Boston area for the Patriots next year?
Well, yeah, definitely. This is definitely not what we see from Bill Belichick on a normal basis. He's known for not spending money, basically on any position, maybe, defensive positions, but definitely not on the offensive side of the ball. Jonnu Smith made a splash himself, but when they went and signed Hunter Henry as well, I think a lot of people were shocked. But to be honest, there's still a lot of people like this roster, but they're still shaky about Cam Newton, which is understandable after last season.
Hmm.
So I don't think people will have a definitive feeling about what this team will look like until either the quarterback situation is over or they address this current quarterback situation. So you know, after 20 years of Brady, Cam Newton really disappointed them. So it's going to be hard to kind of win that trust back.
Right. And Chris, over in Kansas City, of course, the Chiefs do get Tooney and Long, but they miss out on Trent Williams, Desmond King, Kyle Fuller. What is Kansas City feeling like right now?
I think they're like hesitantly optimistic just because the line was obviously the main thing coming into this free agency. I think they want to take care of a lot of the rest of their deficiencies, whether it's a pass rusher, receiver in the draft. And so, they got a few guys, few depth guys. They still really don't have anybody to play center. They really don't have anyone that feel real confident in left tackle, but they have like 8 NFL linemen that could realistically start, but most of them are guards. It's just kind of a wild thing. So no one's, I mean, is Kyle Long going to be asked to play right tackle where he was a Pro Bowler in 2015 at? Is Nick Allegretti going to, with the Tooney signing, get moved back to his center position? Like, just no one really knows what the plan is with the offensive line. Still, I think, a move or two to come to hopefully get a left tackle, whether that's an early draft pick or pick up maybe a Villanueva or someone like that. So, that people are happy that they're investing in the line in free agency. I think that's what a lot of Chiefs fans wanted to do. But after they brought in the kind of guys they have, it's still quite a few question marks.
Right. So, of course, this is the free agency episode. Free agency, the legal tampering started on Monday, and then free agency started on Wednesday. We are in the middle of free agency. There's still a bunch of good free agents still out there. So, we just wanted to focus today on some of the teams that have some of the signings that have already happened. And Donovan, you'll start. Who has won free agency thus far?
So are you asking in terms of a team or a player?
What team has won free agency thus far?
I mean, for absolutely right now, it's hard not to put, I think, New England and I would put New England and Tampa as weird as it sounds. From Tampa Bay's standpoint, they obviously went on won a Super Bowl, but it's very, very rare to see, a team that won the Super Bowl with expiring contracts or superstars or soon to be superstars come back with that same exact roster the next year. And I think it's been very impressive that they found a way to, kind of franchise tag Chris Godwin so that they could sign Shaq Barrett long term. Kind of a couple pieces of defense they still need to, maybe what's the deal with the Dominican Sue. But for the most part, they got this team back. They got Gronk. Um, they renegotiated Brady's deal. Gronk got a new deal. Kind of the pieces that were so huge for them down the stretch in that playoff run, they're back. So, looking at the NFC right now, it's hard to not put them as the favorite coming out of the NFC, especially if you look at the division with the Saints losing Drew Brees. Um, we don't know what's going to happen in Seattle. The NFC East is always wide open. And, they seem to be the only team in the NFC that definitively got better,
Mhm.
by better meaning they kept all their pieces together. From New England's standpoint, like I said earlier, they don't spend ever in free agency. And, we don't know if this is going to immediately result in success for the pieces they picked up. But from the season they had last year, they've done a good job of, not staying put. They've addressed, some of their problems on the offensive side of the ball. Bill is a great coach. He may be 50-50 GM at times, but he is a great coach. So He got players that he knows will fit his scheme, and it seems to be that there's some type of long-term plan going on with him. So I've been pretty impressed with the signings New England has made as well.
Right, and Chris, who's your team that's won free agency thus far?
I don't know if they've won free agency, but instead of picking someone like the Patriots or maybe the Cardinals, who've had a decent offseason as well, I kind of like what the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing. Like they bring in Griffin. They signed Marvin Jones to help, presumably help Trevor Lawrence. They completely revamped their defensive line. I think they went and they got a few guys like Malcolm Brown they traded for. They signed Jahide Ward, like not like superstars, but just really good depth guys on that defense that really, 3-4 years ago was the strengths, now the weakness. And outside of Marvin Jones, pretty much everything else has been brought into that defense. They brought in Rudy Ford, who's a decent safety. And so I just kind of really like the moves that they're slowly making. I mean, again, Griffin and Jones are the top end free agency guys that they brought in, but they brought in so many other little guys that if, Trevor Lawrence say he comes out and plays like Justin Herbert did last year or is something close to that, they already have the weapons on offense. If that defense can beat league average, which looks like it's trending too, I think that they've made a lot of moves to put them up into a position to be a dark horse wildcard team. I know that sounds crazy, but like I just think that their moves, they're definitely making the moves like that's where they think they can be.
Right, and I definitely do agree with you on Tampa. Tampa made a lot of splashes, and Jacksonville does look like they're gearing up for Trevor Lawrence. Like, if there were ever any questions of who they're signing, they have made it very clear this last few days what they're going to do in the draft.
Absolutely.
For me, I really like what Miami's doing. They are, we keep having these questions about, do they trust Tua? Are they all in on Tua yet? And I think they kind of told us that they're going to go all in on Tua the last few days, right? They have signed him offensive weapon after offensive weapon. They're sending a clear message to him, but also to fans that, hey, we're going to go all in on this kid. He may have had an underwhelming year, but we believe in him. But while we're on it, what player won free agency thus far?
I mean, I'm going to go with Taysom Hill. I'm going to be honest. I don't know all the details of that contract, but I was absolutely baffled when I saw the number. For a guy who, I can't really tell you if he's good or bad because I don't have enough of him. And for a guy that has pretty much sat on the bench or has gone in, as a specialty player, he really, 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 really made out with this money that he's getting. And obviously New Orleans has a plan for maybe both him and Jameis Winston going forward, but there's obviously some type of long-term commitment with that deal. So it's definitely a good move on their part.
$145 million on the same day that Drew Brees retired.
Yeah. I don't know what they're doing over there.
Who you got, Chris?
And they brought back Jameis Winston, who probably should be the starter because Taysom Hill is just he's Taysom Hill. He's fine. He's not a $145 million man. He's a guy you want on your football team to do a lot of things, but not to pay him that much. It has to be Trent Williams though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, guy is 32 years old, took a year off, comes back, dominates, and is like gets a 6-year, $138 million deal as a 32-year-old left tackle. Like, that's insane. They're paying him until, like, obviously, it's not like guaranteed money or, but still, that's a 6-year contract means that they're kind of thinking that he could play until he's 38, or at least maybe 36, 37 before he cut him. I mean, that's just an incredible deal for a guy who has been one of the best, if not the best left tackle in the league for a while. And continues to prove at his age. I think, got a couple teams in a bidding war. And, like, I'm just really impressed with what Trent Williams was able to get. And I think he deserves every penny of it. Don't get me wrong. He's an animal, but just something you don't see very often with the guy his age. So,
yeah, it was definitely a surprising number.
Yeah. Right.
Trent Williams coming out of his cancer scare, coming at his age. The fact that he's making that much money is insane. But, like, you watch him on film.
Right,
he deserves it, right?
An animal.
Another big one for me is I actually have two here. Nelson Aguilar in New England is getting paid a ton of money for what he doesn't provide to teams, right? He's most known for not doing well. He's most known for dropping balls. And the fact that New England is paying him the money they are, that's insane. But yet again, it is Belichick. Maybe he has a plan for him. Or you could look at the Raiders, who are paying Kenyon Drake $11 million to be a backup. He's a backup.
Crazy.
And he's going to play maybe 15% of snaps because Josh Jacobs is a bell cow.
Yeah. Maybe they plan on using him more as a passing weapon would be my only, kind of reasoning for that contract. But if he has the same role that, like you said, as a backup, the contract and the money just doesn't make sense. But they are back, and they might be a little desperate over there in Vegas. Gruden might be on the hot seat. We keep hearing this long-term commitment to Gruden, but there hasn't been any results.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're kind of counting. He's on the watch, in my opinion. And if it's another disaster this year, we could see a shakeup.
Right. I was actually really surprised he made it through this year. Like, we should be hearing that he's on the hot seat, right? We should, he's had how many seasons now with no results?
It is though. He does have a different relationship with the owner than most coaches do with their owner from the past. He's already had a stint there, and he won a Super Bowl. Or he lost in the Super Bowl.
I think
they played Tampa in the Super Bowl, I believe. I think they won.
I think didn't he won one with the Raiders?
No,
and then got traded to Tampa and then beat the Raiders.
Yeah, he didn't win it with the Raiders. Then they got there.
Oh, okay.
And lost to.
Yeah.
Wow, that's embarrassing. But he didn't win one with Oakland, but he won one with Tampa the next year.
Oakland with Tampa. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, he obviously has a long-term, professional relationship with the owners, known him for a while. So it doesn't really surprise me. He's kind of getting more leeway than most guys, but at the same time, it makes sense.
Right. And so next, who is someone still in free agency that you're looking forward to seeing where they sign?
To me, it's definitely Kenny Golladay. I've heard he's been back and forth having meetings, I think, with the Giants and Saints, I believe. Might be another team involved there. But listen, he's still, in his prime. Even if it's barely, he's still in his prime. Young receiver. Any team could use, most teams could use what he brings to the table. Obviously, he's not coming back to Detroit, but if he could be paired with a dynamic and good quarterback, it would be very interesting to see the step he takes because he's one of the more underrated players in the league. Obviously, because of where he played to begin with. So that's something to watch out for me, anyways.
And Chris?
Yeah, Kenny Golladay is a beast. He's like the last top 10, 12-ish free agent still out there. So, again, I'm going to go kind of under the radar. I haven't heard anything being talked about Melvin Ingram in his market. Like, that's a really good pass rush. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a Chiefs fan and I get to watch him, twice a year every time that we play the Chargers. But that's a really good pass rusher who's kind of lived in Joey Bosa's shadow his whole career. Had a few health injuries there or health concerns there. But I think whoever gets that man is going to get a stud pass rusher who can, he's going to be able to impact quite a few games, shore up, one side of the defensive line that you don't have to worry about. I'm kind of really surprised I haven't heard his name out there a lot and that he's still unsigned because I think he's a big piece to a lot any team out there.
Right, and I'm trying to think because I have a list on my computer. I'm trying to think of where have I seen Melvin Ingram rumored to? I don't think I've seen him rumored to anywhere. It's
wild, exactly. Like I just don't know why it's not being talked about because he's awesome. I love the guy and I hate the Chargers.
And sure, he has injury problems, but for some reason, any player that walks into the Chargers facility suddenly has injury problems. So, I'm not sure why he isn't already signed somewhere. I think he'd do great in Kansas City.
Yeah, definitely.
But another under the radar one from the AFC West, Phillip Lindsay.
Yeah.
He's going to go somewhere. He's going to make a difference. But my big one is Juju Smith-Schuster. We kind of think he's going to go to the Jets, but not really sure. And that's kind of fizzled the last couple days.
Why do Steelers love going to the Jets?
I'm not sure. And like the Jets haven't made that many moves this offseason.
And they have
Right,
so much cap space as well.
You'd think
Yeah.
they'd be gearing up and getting ready for Zach Wilson because they're taking Zach Wilson. You'd think they'd be all in on getting ready for that, but they have been very quiet up there in New York.
See, I'm interested in on the same topic. I'm very interested to see what happens with Sam Darnold.
No.
I'm actually surprised a lot of teams haven't inquired about him yet. I think there's a couple quarterbacks who are starting right now who I think he can produce better, even more than two that come to mind are Cam Newton and Andy Dalton. Which another shocker to me is that Trubisky is backing up Josh Allen in Buffalo. Which I'm not saying Trubisky's good, but he certainly was not in the best situation of that Chicago offense. And if I'm the Bears, the Andy Dalton signing really does not make sense to me whatsoever. When you can probably have Trubisky back at even the same or even less of a price. It's I don't understand what Chicago is doing for the most part, but if there's a coach GM combo that should be on the hot seat right now, I think it's definitely Matt Nagy and the GM.
Mm-hmm.
But back to Sam Darnold, I thought Chicago could have used his services. Pittsburgh could have used his services, but they chose to renegotiate with Big Ben, which I think will come back to haunt them. And even maybe New England tried and the Jets weren't trading Darnold in division, but I feel like Sam Belichick could make Sam Darnold work. So I think in the coming weeks, leading up to the draft, maybe we'll see more Sam Darnold news. But
right,
that's one to look up for.
The fact that the Bears didn't bring Mitch Trubisky back in, he signed for $2.5 million. That is a bargain, right?
Insane.
Even if he's just going to sit on your bench, $2.5 million is a bargain for a quarterback.
You never know. If Allen misses a game or two, that's not the worst person to have out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's way worse.
And I guess that leads right into our next conversation. What team lost free agency thus far?
The Raiders. The Raiders lost free agency. They started free agency with 5 linemen. They've traded away 3, and another one they don't plan on re-signing. And the one that they did bring back is Richie Incognito, which good lineman. I don't know. That's if though character-wise, if that's the one lineman you want to keep. Also, lost Aguilar Williams, Gabe Jackson, LaMarcus Joyner, and then they bring in, then like you already talked about, they bring in Drake to, at worst, be a like a third down kind of back, or I guess best case scenario for the Raiders. So it's like I just don't understand what they're doing. And what's even crazier is those linemen. The 3 of them were traded. Hudson was traded. Brown was traded. I forget the last one is eluding me, but I just don't understand what they're doing. They're trying too hard and it's just not working.
Yeah, especially if Denver can land. Denver ever landed Watson or someone else, Vegas would be in a really, really bad position. I'm going to stay out west, and I'm going to say Seattle. Obviously, with what's going on with Russell Wilson is not ideal, but they really haven't done anything to improve that situation. I want to say, they added maybe a weapon or two, but for Russell Wilson's main point was the offensive line, which to begin with, I didn't really agree in the manner that he called them out. I think the last people you don't want on your side is your lineman. They're the guys that try their hardest to protect you. And I didn't think that was in Russell Wilson's best interest. And basically, to paraphrase it, I don't have good linemen. Russ has never been known as a bad guy. I don't think he is by any means, but I just think I think quarterbacks sometimes have to be careful with who they call out, just stuff like that. I don't see this situation in Seattle ending pretty, whether it's Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson. I think this is only the beginning of something brewing, more drama maybe throughout the season. I think the first 3-4 games of Seattle season is going to be very important to see, where they go in the future, especially with Russ and the head coach. So I don't think they've done much to improve, their record or their division. All 3 teams in the division around them have gotten better this offseason. and you could make a clear argument that Seattle hasn't. So that's an interesting team to watch out for me.
Right. I'd say for me, my second, the team that lost second most, and this isn't going to be popular, is probably the Chiefs, because they haven't done anything. Like, yeah, they got Joe Tooney, and they're going to make that guard position immediately better with Joe Tooney, but they miss out on every good center in free agency. They missed out on every left tackle in free agency. So now we're going to have to see them draft a left tackle, and rookie left tackles are so hit or miss that, man, it's going to be rough. You know, you hope Leatherwood's going to be there when they can draft him, and then you're going to hope that he's good enough at that position. And at the center position, they have to re-sign Austin Reeder, right? If they don't, they lose out on the center. They lose out on centers. They're going to get a much less good center, and then Patrick Mahomes is going to be running for his life again, right? So Kansas City has missed out on a lot of great players, and that's not even considering they still have to make some move. They still need some more offensive weapons. They need another wide receiver, right? They're probably going to lose Sammy Watkins. If he hasn't re-signed now, he's not going to. Right? Like, Kansas City has missed out on a lot of opportunities this free agency. And then we're like, oh, but we kicked the wheels on this old unretired guard who may not start because we also re-signed Remmers. And also we got Joe Tooney. So Kansas City's a little aggravating to watch because it feels like they could have done more, but haven't. And I know part of that comes down to cap, right? We learned recently a lot of players did restructure their deals. Tyreek Hill chose not to. Which is interesting. But my actual team that lost is Chicago, of course, right? They haven't committed to the rebuild yet, right? You can tell by them signing Andy Dalton and them not trying to trade away Khalil Mack and players like that. They haven't committed to the rebuild, but they need to be in rebuild now. They've officially signaled, we're done, we're giving up, but you got to go full out on that. And they haven't signaled that yet. They haven't. Like I said, Khalil Mack, once they get rid of that, they're going to finally be in real build mode. But that Chicago gave up this offseason.
Agree with you.
Told Andy Dalton he's going to be the starter.
Oh, yeah. But if they can get Russell Wilson, this is one last thing. I still think they're in the Russell Wilson trade. I still think they're in that situation.
Wasn't there a rumor that like some team offered them like 4 first-round picks, a second, and a fifth, and Seattle like hung up the phone?
Well, I know Schefter said Chicago offered that for Seattle, and Seattle told them we're not trading Russ at this time.
Right, and their response was,
basically it is, let's go give Dalton the job.
What a consolation prize.
If you're willing to offer that for Russ, why don't you call up the Texans and be like, hey, we just made this offer to Seattle. They told us no. Can we have Watson for that?
Yeah, but Texans I think they blocked everyone's number. They're not even answering.
But I don't remember who it is. I want to say Glazer has said that the Texans have not said since the first of the year that they are not trading Watson.
It was another Houston reporter said that he expects Watson to get traded. I mean, I do too. I just think that a lot has to happen first. That's why I think it's going to happen towards the draft.
Mm-hmm. Jets are gearing up for it. That's why they haven't spent all that money.
I'm with you on that. I think the Jets have by far the most to offer for him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get why they wouldn't be in on him.
Right. I don't know if it'll happen, but it's clear that that's in the back of their mind with the lack of the amount of cap space they have and the lack of moves. Unless I know Galladay is supposed to go to the Giants, but unless they got Galladay and Smith-Schuster on the wide receiver core, like that's about the only thing they could do.
It is worth noting with what's going on with Deshaun Watson right now, with his multiple lawsuits and stuff like that. It will be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, we have our hearts go out to those women if these are actual allegations. But Deshaun Watson has mentioned that prior to these allegations coming public, these were cases that were asking for money from him. So however that plays out, that is going to probably have a huge impact on his trade value and what happens.
Definitely.
But with that being said, we're just going to have to wait. I do agree. I think he might even be drafted as part or traded as part of the draft. come draft day, the Jets may be like, all right, last case scenario, here you go. This is what we have. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see. Until then, Donovan, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Twitter is at DunnyKaz, DUNNYKAZ. Writer for Border Fuel, and you can find our podcast up, Border Fuel Live.
And Christopher?
You can follow me on Twitter at 10penny88, just like the number in the coin, 88. Also, make sure to check out my Border Fuel podcast, which is called Fly Over Sports. You can find it at Fly Over Sports BF. And I know we didn't get into it because of all the free agency, but as far as the NCAA tournament goes, I'm going to be, as I was trying to be off the wall for everything else, I'm going to be generic for this and have Gonzaga beating Illinois because they're just the best two teams.
Donovan, who you have winning that tournament?
I have Michigan beating Houston.
Ooh.
I have Gonzaga and Baylor to round out my Final Four.
Yeah, I'm also pretty generic. I have Gonzaga winning the tournament. But if you want to find me and see me complain about when my bracket gets busted, you can find me on Twitter at Byron Smith. I'm also a writer and director of operations for Borderfield Sports, which is borderfieldsports.com. We're working on a lot of great things there for the summer, so we're hoping you guys come and hang out and watch us. But until next week, I'm Byron, that's Donovan, and that's Christopher, and we'll see you all then.
See ya.